talking about friendship again, continuing on to what we talked about last week. What we talked about last week with friendship was this notion that we get to be catalysts of people coming to know Jesus because of the way that we do friendship. It's that when someone sees your life in the way that you interact with other people who come to this building, when they see you at church and when they see you at school, and the way you interact with one another, the way that you encourage, the way that you support and there for each other, what they do is they look at your life and they go, I don't know what it is, but I want a part of what you guys are a part of. My friends are constantly people who betray me. My friends are constantly people who talk bad about me. I find that I have a very quick turnover of friends, and I just want friends who are committed and loyal to each other like you guys are. I want friends who are encouraging, will stand up for me, and will talk well about me when I'm there for others. And so they sit there and they look at your life and the way that you interact with each other, and they say, we want in. And you preach a message to people saying, we want to know Jesus. We want to come to your church. We want to do relationship like you do relationship. And so they say, let me be a part of that. And they find themselves in church. And in church they find more of these people and more of this community that's accepting and loving. And then they find themselves at the throne of Jesus. And we get to be a catalyst in which people come to know Jesus because of the way that we do friendship. But something that happens a lot of times is we will sit here and look at how this changes the church. And we go, that's fine and dandy, but we want to also know that friendship changes us. And friendship will, done correctly, change you in your life for the better. And so that's what I want to talk about more about friendship today, is how choosing friends wisely and treating your friends well and having them treat you back in this mutual edification in love, that you want to look more like Jesus in your friendships, you will grow and become a better person because of it. It's not just that friendship is growing the church, but friendship is also growing you. And so I have 6 things that I want to get through, and with all of them, what I want you to do is I want you to take this and go to a mentor figure. And if you don't have a mentor figure, that should be your small group leader. Your small group leader acts as a mentor figure, and we talked about growth groups a little bit on stage, but growth groups are what we're all about here in 1112. Like, the reason we do shivs and the reason we do camps is to get you plugged into a growth group. Why? Because of this right here. We believe that friendship done well will change our eternities for the better and help change other people's eternities. And so when we get in these growth group settings, we think it is so vitally important that you guys are plugged into a growth group and you have friends that you can do life with, but also a mentor figure, an adult who's walked through life and done life well, in order that they can instruct you on, here's some things that I've learned, here's mistakes that I've made that you can learn from. And so take some of these questions and these things that I talk about and ask your mentor to grade you on it. Not because they're mean or malicious or anything, but because they want to help you grow. That's why we call them growth groups. Because we hope that we would look more like Christ by the end of these groups. And so with this, if you don't have a small group leader or a growth group leader, or you don't have a mentor, I challenge you to get plugged into a growth group. Because what you'll find is you will find that you enjoy the people that you're in the growth group with, and you will find a mentor figure or an adult in your life who can help you, not because you need help, but because we all need help. And it's people that have been doing this life longer than us that we look to and we go, teach me how to do life better. Help me avoid the mistakes that you made. And that's why we want to walk alongside people who have been in this Christian walk a while, because we can grow and learn from them. And so that's what I challenge you guys. All these things I talk about, take you to a mentor and say, hey, how am I doing with this? The first one is choose your friends wisely. How do we do friendship better? Is we start by choosing our friends wisely. Again, take this to a mentor. So do I have good friends? Have I been selective in choosing good friends for me? What this is not rejecting anyone that you don't like and saying, I don't have to hang out with them, I don't have to be with them. Because it says that Jesus was a friend of sinners, that he sat with them. Rather, it's the people that you surround yourself with, that you call the closest in your life, that you call your best friends, that shape who you become. Those are the people you want to choose wisely. And it's for this reason, that we become like our friends. And a lot of times we will talk to our parents and they'll be like, we don't like your friends. Your parents will say, we don't like your friends very much. And they kind of affect you, and they don't make you the best person. And we'll look at our parents and we'll say, no, like, I'm not affected by anything they do. They're just fun, but they don't like influence my decisions or anything. But everyone was made to be influenced by the people that we surround ourselves with. That's the way that God designed us. Because he goes, I want a community of believers that do life well and that do life my way, in the way that I have designed. And so when you're in this community and you're walking in the way that I have designed, you will find that this community will make you more like me. But when you're walking in a life that is not as I designed, you will find that you get further and further away from me because of the people that you surround ourselves with. So we need to be people who choose our friends wisely. If you took an average of your 5 closest friends, and tomorrow you woke up and you were just like them, would you be satisfied with that? That's a good question to ask ourselves. You're an average of the 5 closest people to you. If you wake up tomorrow and you're just like the 5 closest people to you, you should be ecstatic by the people you surround yourself with. But if you go, or if you think and you say, oh crap, I don't want to end up like my 5 closest friends, then it's time to get new friends. Because here's the thing. Friends influence our decisions, and they influence our future, the choices we make. And a lot of times people will say that they aren't responsible for the decisions they make because they were influenced by other people, and their friends told them to do these things. But if you choose your friends wisely, then you will also choose your future wisely. Because your friends will help, the friends that you should desire are the friends that help you be the person that you want to be. And that's why it's important that we choose our friends. Paul speaks to this in 1 Corinthians 15:33, when he says, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. Paul's a pretty smart guy. So when he says, do not be deceived, it's not just so that the language sounds good, or that the Bible reads well, or it's flowery. It's because people are deceived. In the same way that when we go to our parents and say, no, I'm not influenced by my friends. Paul's saying, don't be deceived. You are influenced by your friends. They will lead you to a path that you don't want to head if you don't choose your friends wisely. But if it's not bad company, but good company, then it will help build character. Bad company corrupts or ruins good morals in the same way that good company will build good morals. So surround yourself with good friends. Proverbs 13:20 also speaks to this, and it says, whoever walks with the wise will become wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Whoever walks with the wise will become wise, but the companion of fools suffers harm. Proverbs 13:20. Someone said this to me one time, and they said, I always want to be the least wise and the least smartest person in every room I'm in. And I was like, that's not a very uplifting way to live your life. Like, you just always feel stupid. But their point was that if I'm always the least wise and least smartest person in the room that I'm in, then I will constantly learn from those around me. And that's something that we should aim for as friends, that we have friends that are wise and have good character. And that the people we surround ourselves with, we look and we go, I'm not the smartest one in this group. I'm not the wisest one in this group. So I hope that I can learn and become like you people. Because we become like those that we surround ourselves with. So may we constantly surround ourselves with people that are wiser and smarter than us. You're like, I don't want to feel dumb. I don't want to feel unwise. But trust me, it'll help you grow. It'll help you become the person that you want. Number 2, encourage your friends. How are you guys with encouraging your friends? Something I think we should do more in encouraging our friends, not just in action, but also in words, is we need to set up systems. Because a lot of times when feelings fade, or when you don't have the desire to do something, when you don't have the desire to encourage your friends, and you say, this is not what I'm feeling right now, what happens is systems will help you do that regardless of your feeling. Because if I only worshiped God when I was feeling it, there are a lot of times where months would go by where I wouldn't worship God. But it's because I set up a system by which I go, I will wake up and read your Bible every day, and I will sit there and praise you and repeat your words, even if I don't feel it, because I know that it will make me holy and make me good and like you. In the same way, when we encourage our friends, we need to set up systems, because you won't always feel goodwill towards your friends. You won't always feel like encouraging them, but if you set up systems, for example, if you talk into Siri and say, hey, remind me every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. to encourage my friends. Siri will set, every morning you wake up at 8 a.m., or every Tuesday morning you wake up at 8 a.m. with a little note from Siri that says, encourage your friends. It's that easy. And now it's a system that you set up, so when everyone else gets on this resolve of like, hurrah, we just heard a good message about encouragement, let's go do it, and it lasts for 2 weeks, but then they don't do it the rest of the year until they hear another message on encouragement, you get to be set apart from that, in that you now set up a system by which every Tuesday you are encouraging your friends, and it's something that's continual. Or if there's a chore that you have to do around the house, like washing the dishes once a week or picking up the dog poop, then attach encouraging your friends to that. And right before you go do that, then text your friends and encourage them. A good example of this in the Bible is Acts 11:21. Acts 11:21. The book of Acts the reason it's called Acts is it's the Acts of the Apostles. And so there's all these people that follow Jesus, and it's their actions in life that they live out, and it's the story of that, of the first church arising. Well, in Acts, there's this man named Saul, who you guys are more familiar with as Paul, who wrote much of the New Testament. Saul was this person that went around and persecuted Christians. It says that he breathed out murderous threats against them. That he would go to different cities and he would search for Christians, and he would say, by Jewish law, they are blaspheming and breaking our customs, let's stone them. So he would literally find people that he could kill. It was this terrorist figure that people were terrified of, that the Christians were terrified of. And so the risen Jesus appears to Paul in Acts 9 and says, Saul, Saul, because that was his name at the time before it was changed. Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he goes, who are you, Lord? And then he explains himself to him, and Paul switches his whole lifestyle. The man who was once murdering Christians, who approved the first killing of Christian, Paul, is now changed to joining Christians. So what happens is Paul comes on the scene, and now he wants to start sharing with the disciples and the believers. But we kind of excuse them for being a little bit hesitant to accept Paul right away. And here's why. Let's take it in a little bit of modern examples. If there is a Nazi who's in a concentration camp, and all of a sudden he has just changed his ways and goes, you know what, I'm going to become Jewish and I'm going to support the Jewish people because I believe in their ways. Don't you think that the Jews in a camp that this guy is in would be a little hesitant if he said, I want to join you guys? They wouldn't be like, oh yay, something's working. They'd be like, no. You're just trying to get on the inside so you can harm us. You're just trying to infiltrate our ways of doing things. So of course they're still going to avoid him. They're not just going to be like, oh, you killed our friend? Come on. Like, come in. We're willingly accepting you. So they're a little bit hesitant. But this is what happens. This man named Barnabas, who was someone who constantly encouraged the other apostles and the people of the church, comes on the scene in 11:21. Actually starting in 22, and it says this. News of this reached the church in Jerusalem, that people were coming to know Christ, that the gospel was being spread. News of this had come to the church in Jerusalem, and they sent Barnabas to Antioch. When he arrived and saw what the grace of God had done, he was glad and encouraged them all to remain true to the Lord with their hearts. He was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit and faith, and a great number of people were brought to the Lord. Then Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul. And when he found him, he brought him to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. Their disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. Barnabas was an encourager, not just to the church, but to Paul. When everyone rejected him and said, we don't want you to come around here, you murderer, Barnabas said, I'm going to do ministry with this guy for a year, and I'm going to teach, and I'm going to give him credibility. And I think that's a lot of times what we need to do, is we need to be people that are encouraging to our friends. Because Jesus was a friend of sinners, and so we need to be too. That when someone walks in these doors, and they have a terrible reputation of being a womanizer, and you think they just want to come in here because they just want to hook up with the girls in our ministry, and you want nothing to do with them, that you would take Barnabas' example and go, I'm going to be an encouragement to them. That I'm going to stand by them and hope maybe that they've changed and help walk them to church, and you believe in them just as Barnabas believed in Saul, and you are an encouragement in the way that you live and believe in them. And so sometimes we need to be people who encourage our friends because our friends oftentimes need it. They need encouragement from us. It's when you're going through life and times seem difficult that when a friend comes and gives you encouraging words that are truthful from Christ, we feel uplifted and we continue on. It's like drinking a fresh spring of water. That's what encouragement is. It's drinking a fresh spring of water when you feel like a desert of loneliness. So we need to be people that constantly encourage our friends. Number 3, support your friends. Number 3 is support your friends. We need people who support our friends. In the book of Job, there's this man, and his name is Job, and he is this guy who kind of lives righteously, and he's like this leader in his society, and he kind of lives for God, and he has all these blessings in this great life, and Satan and God have a conversation, and Satan comes to him and says, God says, have you thought about my servant Job? And he goes, look how righteous he is, and he will follow me. And Satan goes, that's only because you blessed him. Trust me, when you take everything away from him, watch, he'll curse you. He won't follow you anymore. And so Job is sitting here and God goes, okay, you can take everything from him. I bet you will still be true to me. So God comes and strips everything from Job, and Job decides to stay loyal to God. But what happens is in the midst of it, it's not just Job being like, whatever, I'm good, things are okay. Instead, he is sad, brokenhearted, he cries, he weeps, he loses sons and daughters, he loses all his livestock, everything he had, he ends up with painful sores all over him. And what happens is Job's friends are there for him, they support him. And it says this in Job 2:11. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shunammite, and Zophar the Nethamite, heard all about the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. And they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Job's friends were there for him. They supported him when he needed it most. When he was walking through hell, which felt like him walking through hell with these hard times, his friends came alongside him. And so too, you guys are going to be in situations where you see your friends walking through troubling situations, and we need people who come alongside them and say, I will walk alongside this with you. That I will set apart time so I can sit here and mourn with you and be with you. But there's a second part to it, supporting your friends. And that is the purpose of supporting your friends is that they would look more like Christ. What happened is Job's friends were rebuked at the end of Job. Because they had said things that weren't true about God. They had told Job lies about God, and they didn't support him, and they challenged, is this God really good? And so there were friends that were there for him, but they didn't lead him to God. And this is what it says in Job 42. After the Lord had said these things to Job, he said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am angry with you and your two friends because you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has. That's what the Lord said. You didn't speak the truth about me. So if we're going to be people that truly support our friends, we must speak God's truth to them in order that they would look more like Christ. Because supporting your friends with your time, effort, and emotional needs is an important thing, but only does it work when it's paired with God's truth. If not, it's not effective. They end up further away from God because you supported them. And I wouldn't call that support. As Christians, we believe that support is making us look more like Christ. If we do not look more like Christ at the end of this, we are not doing a good job of supporting our friends. But if we support our friends with truth, and in their times of emotional distress, we lend our emotional support to them, and we spend time with them, empathizing with them, and they look more like Christ at the end of it and have a stronger faith, and we have done friendship successfully, the way that Jesus does friendships. Jesus met us where we were at. He laid down his Godhood to be with us. And so too, we laid down our we laid down our position of emotional stability and okayness, and we say, I'm going to get down to your level, and I'm going to mourn with you. I'm not going to be happy because my life's going good. I'm going to mourn because your life is in a problem of ruin. It's empathizing with them. Number 4. Be a loyal friend. Be a loyal friend. Be a loyal friend. We see David and Jonathan. This is probably the best story of friendship in the Bible. You can find it in 1 Samuel 17 through 20. But here's what happens. Saul is this king, and he's jealous of David. David was this king that became anointed as the future king because Israel said, give us a king. So they put Saul up, who wasn't a good king, was all about success and his own power. And then God comes in and says, I'm taking your kingdom away from you, and I'm going to anoint David as king. So Saul becomes jealous of David and tries to kill him. And this is what we find in 19. Saul told his son Jonathan and all his attendants to kill David. But Jonathan had taken a great liking to David and warned him, my father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I will speak to him about you and will tell you what I find out. Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, let not the king do wrong to his servant David. He has not wronged you. What he has done has benefited you greatly. And he goes on and he basically defends him that he's loyal, even when his loyalty cost him. Because he can't be the next king because his father has lost the throne. that his father might be frustrated with him, he gives up that and he sacrifices. He goes, I'm going to be loyal because I know that this is important. He's going to protect his friend because that's what is important to him. As he goes, loyalty and sticking beside my friend is an important thing. And for me, loyalty is one of the most important traits a friend can show to me. If you guys have friends who are constantly betraying you and not sticking around for you, and they don't stick up for you, and when things get hard, they leave, they don't commit to being with you, then what you need to do is you need to start being a loyal friend so that loyal friends are attracted to you. Loyalty attracts loyalty. If you are loyal, your friends will start to be loyal, and you make a commitment to be there for them. And part of that is sticking to your commitments. Commit to your friends that you're not going to leave them and that you'll be there for them, and stick to your commitment. In the same way, also stick to your little daily commitments. Like if you say that you're going to go somewhere with your friend, go somewhere with your friend. One of the most frustrating things for me is when people don't ever say they're going to do something. It's like on Facebook when you leave a little maybe, or you wait till the last second to say you're going to go to a party or something because you're always waiting for the best next thing. We live in this culture of FOMO where we think, what if I miss out on the best thing? But sometimes you just need to take the chance that maybe something better will arise, but that's not worth my word. I'm going to commit to something and say I'm going to do this, and even if something better arises, that's not worth me going against my word of saying that I'll do something and doing it. And so I challenge you guys, this is a practical one, but when there's an event where someone invites you to something, don't be like, let me see and get back to you, and you wait the day before because what if I get invited to like a concert or something fun? But instead you look at your friend and you go, yeah, I'll be there. And then if something better comes up, you go. You still go because you committed to being there. And that's a personal frustration for me is when people say like, oh, I'm not sure I'll go, I'm not sure I'll be there. But we need to be people who constantly commit to stuff and then go to it. That is such a frustration for me is when people are like, maybe I'll go, we'll see. Stop waiting for something better and take what's there. Because what's better might not ever come, and then you start to slowly decay your friendships when you can commit to something, and even if something better arises, you love your friend by saying, you are more important to me than this. Number 5, friends are willing to have hard conversations and always call each other out of sin. Friends are willing to have hard conversations and always call each other out of sin. This one in John 18, or John 8, we find Jesus does this perfectly. I mean, Jesus does everything perfectly, but this should be our example for calling friends out of sin. So it's the woman caught in adultery. And what happened is this woman was caught in the act of adultery, basically cheating on her husband or sleeping with a man who was married, one of the two. And so while she was literally in the act, these Jewish leaders pulled her out and they put her in front of a crowd. And they basically said, like, we're going to stone this woman because that's what the law says. And so in verse 5 it says, in the law of Moses, it says, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law of Moses, it commands us to stone such a woman. Now what do you say? They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. That if he stoned her, it was basically that he was murderous. But if he didn't, that he didn't follow the law. And so they're trying to trap Jesus. And this is what Jesus does. But Jesus bent down and started to write in the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said, Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left with the woman standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No, sir, she said. And then this is the line I want to focus on, that we should be as friends to our friends. This is the kind of friendship we should show to our friends. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go now and leave your life of sin. Jesus protected her from her accusers, and then he protects her from her sin. He says, I don't condemn you, now go away and turn from your life of sin. Stop sinning. So when we call our friends out of sin, a lot of times what happens is we love to be the people that are righteous, that are more righteous than our friends. In our world, we'll look at our friends and we'll look down on them and say, I don't do that sin. Now I'm going to tell you to stop doing that sin. But that's what the Pharisees did. The Pharisees called this woman out of sin, but they didn't do it in the right fashion. And Jesus wasn't happy with the way that they treated this woman. They came and they said, we're going to take this woman and put her out in front so that we can talk about how much better we are than this woman. But Jesus comes onto the scene and he says, I'm not going to condemn this woman. I'm going to call her out of her sin, but not in a condemning way that shows that I'm better. But instead, I'm going to say, I don't condemn you, but please, there's a better life for you than this one you're living. And that's the friends that we need to be. We follow Jesus' example and go, hey, I'm not condemning you. I'm not saying that you're this wicked person, and how could you do this? But I know that there's a better life for you. And I want you to live that. I want you to get out of this life of sin. So join me in walking away from your sin as we walk to the cross together. Sin is heading the opposite direction of the cross, but turn around with me and we'll walk towards the cross together. And that's the kind of friends we should be, that don't condemn our friends, but say, we are going to call you out of sin. It's also having hard conversations when necessary. And it's having the right tact when knowing to do that. If you're not good friends with someone, you don't have the position to call them out of a sin. It should be your closest friends that you call out of sin. And even then, sometimes it might be better to bring it to a mentor first and let them do that, because of the position of authority. But only once you earn the right of friendship can you call people out of sin. You can't just walk up and be like, I'm telling you not to sin, I'm being a good Christian. Calling people out of sin comes out of good relationship with people. And so you have to have a relationship. You need to know when not to and when to call people out and to have hard conversations. And you should never have a hard conversation without talking to a mentor about it first, because it gives you a good perspective and lens on whether you should do this or not. And then number 6 is be generous. Be generous. Acts 2 is this famous passage about how the church should act. And it says, this is what it says, Acts 2:42. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold all their property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. They sold all their property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes, and together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying favor of all people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. This is a picture of the church that we should be, of the people and friends that we should be. I think something that I do a lot of times, especially in this next season, those of you know, I just got engaged to Heather a week ago, and we're super excited about our future, but something that happens is as money gets tighter, and as we're working towards marriage and we want to save, I become less generous. Because I'm like, well, I need to save this money, it's important, there's things coming. But when I had nothing, Jesus gave everything to me. And so I followed the example of the man who laid down deity and said, I'm going to allow you a chance to be called a son and daughter of God by laying down my sonship, my godhood. And so he laid down his life so that I could have mine. And that's something where we need to be people that are sacrificing in our lives and giving to others, because that's what the church looks like. When the church is done well, and when numbers are being added to this church, then we will know that we are giving and being generous to other people. But when we are stingy and greedy, no one wants to be a part of that church. If you've ever been in a room where people are only looking out for themselves, we are turned off by that. Why do you think everyone hates Wall Street so much? Because it's a bunch of billionaire tycoons who are only out for their own interest, and they're greedy and only concerned about their own money. As human beings, we know that we don't enjoy that. That's not something we like or desire. We desire generous people. That even when times are harder to give and be generous, like right now when I'm trying to save and get married, that I would still be generous with my money, with my time, with my emotions, my energy towards other people. Because no one wants to be a part of a church that has a bunch of stingy friends. Jesus was a generous person who gave it all to us, so may we follow his example and be generous people who give to others. Jesus is all of our best friends. And again, this is something where like you go into Sunday school and the teacher's like, hold everyone's hand as you go into class, and you get your like little conga line going where you walk into the classroom, and then she's like, now listen, Jesus is everybody's best friend. And you're like, oh yay. And then you get to 11:12 and I said, Jesus is your best friend, and you're like, please, like stop with the first grade again. Jesus is all of our best friends. You want to know why? Because what a best friend is a person who loves you best. And there is no one who loves you better than Jesus. And so in our lives, we should be people who are everyone's best friends. Not because we need to be everyone's best friends for best friend's sake, but because we believe that a best friend is the person who loves someone the best. And we want to love people the best. We follow the example of our Savior and say, how do I love other people better? How do I love you best? And so you look at your life and you go, who is my best friend? And it's the person who loves you the best. And that's why I ask you guys, when you go and you take these questions to a mentor and you say, hey, how am I doing on these things? For a lot of you, your mentor might be your best friend. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're your mentor's best friend and that you hang out all the time like you think that best friends should do. But instead they're your best friend because they love you the best. That is why a mentor might be your best friend, because they love you better than anyone else does. And so, in our life, let's be people who resolve that we are going to be better friends, that we're going to constantly encourage our friends. That the friends who we surround ourselves with, we chose wisely. We handpicked because we know that you are going to make us better. Will we be people that support our friends in their time of need and support them with biblical truth and leading them more to Christ? That we're loyal because we would want a friend who's loyal to us. Because Jesus was loyal to us, regardless of our sin and our opposition to Him. We're friends that have hard conversations and call each other out of sin in the most loving manner in order that we may look like Christ. Our whole point as Christians is that we would look more like Christ and the surrounding world would look more like Christ. And we get to do that in friendship. And that's why I think it is so vitally important that we do friendship well, because we're making ourselves look like Christ and helping other people look like Him too. It's not pointless. Friendship isn't pointless or something we do because it feels good. It's something we do because it makes us holy. And when it's done well, as we see in Acts 2, the church starts to grow. We get to add to the number of people who get to worship our God. The whole point of friendship is that we would make much of God's holy name. Like that song we sang, All Hail King Jesus, singing holy. We sing out holy to our God and we praise Him because He is holy and He has made us holy. And so too, we get to invite our friends by the way we live our life into this holy communion with God. That as the church grows, so His praise and name is made more known because of the way that we do friendships. And that is the point and purpose of friendships. It's not just so that we can go and have a slightly better life. It's that we would look more like Christ. And that His worship would be made known to everyone. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank You for Your friendship, God. For living and dying for us and then giving us an example that is all throughout this Bible, not just in You, but in all the different people that are throughout the Bible. May they be our examples for how we can do friendship well. And when we fail to do friendship well, when we go back to You, the greatest friend, repent and return to what You have designed this Christian community to be, what You have designed Christian relationship to be. We pray these things in Your name. Amen.